In this lecture, we are going to learn about AngularJS with Google Charts. Actually, when you are going to do data visualization, this is very important. And I'm going to create two Google Charts. One is with the static data, and the other one is with the data that I'm going to retrieve from the database. And we will start. I have created a basic structure for this lesson, and I have created an index.html and uh, that this Angular application called app30, and I have created Angular routine for this one, and I have created two HTML files. First one is chart1 and the second one is chart2, and we will create the directives, custom directives for a Google chart. We will start in the this first static Google chart. I'll use app.directive, and my first custom directive Google chart will be chart1 and function. I think you remember we did this custom directive. I'll tell how important this is. I'm going to return this directive here, and in this time I'm going to create custom directive for an attribute type. I'm going to restrict for type A. That means I'm going to restrict this one for attribute type, and I'm going to create a link. This is a link for a Google chat and function, and in the function I'm going to use a scope and element represent elm, and default attribute. We will see which components we are going to use. And first thing, when you work with Google Charts, we need to create a Google visualization data table. For that, I will create var data equal new Google visualization dot data table, and I'm going to add two columns to this data table. Add column, and in the Google data tables, the columns, the first the one is the data type, and the second one is name for a column. I'll put something like JavaScript peoples, right? I'm going to create another column, data dot add column, and this time this column will be number, and like students, JavaScript peoples, and how many students. And I'm going to add data now, data dot add rows. I'm implementing this method because this my first chart will be with the static data, just to get idea about this Google charts, right? The first one will be I'll put not JavaScript people, JavaScript frameworks, right? And first one will be Angular, and Angular is going to follow 10 students, and the second one will be Bootstrap, that will follow 6 students, and after that it's Node.js, that will follow 4, and after that it's Kendo UI. Kendo, I just put Kendo, and it will follow 3 peoples, and I'll put another one, backbone. Oops. And that one will follow 1 people, and I'm going to visualize this data from Google Charts. In the Google Charts is having options like you can give width and height to the chart. I'll define options here, options, and the first option I'm going to give title. We can give title to the Google chart. I'll put students interest, and you can give width and height also. I'll put just like width is 500 and height is like 400, or just same as 500. And now I'm going to declare the chart. Chart equals new Google dot visualization dot. I'm going to create pie chart, and oops, yeah, typed in the wrong place. I got struck. The pie chart, and that will be my element 0, right? Now I am going to give command to draw the chart. Chart.draw. The first thing I need to pass data, and after that options, right. I have created a custom directive to draw this Google chart. Now I need to call for google.load outside of that directive to visualize this directive. Visualization 1, and I need to give the package. This is actually the Google's logic. You don't need to remember all of these things. Go chart, right? We have finished our first Google chart. We will use, actually we have created this custom directive. Now we need to use this custom directive. Then we will go to the chart1.html. We have div area. Actually this is a custom directive for a type of attribute. We need to use that inside of the attribute. We will use inside of div chart1, and yes, that's chart1, and I have used inside of the attribute, right? We will run the application and see. I'll hit the refresh. Yes, page refreshed. That draft is drawn. You can see I have created a custom directive for this draft and we draw that Angular 41% and Bootstrap and the Node.js, Kendo and Backbone. That chart is automatically generated and we'll go to the coding and see. Actually, I have created this custom directive inside of this Angular module app30. You can use this custom directive anywhere inside of this application. We will just think I need to display this chart in another page of the same application. We'll just put it in the other page and we'll refresh. You can see two charts are displayed. I just did one custom directive, created a one custom directive, and I have used that in two places. It's just a very simple thing without doing all the codings, right? I think you understood how we are going to use this Google Charts with the AngularJS. Actually, in this directive, we used Angular technology like this attribute type and custom directive with the attribute type, and there's no any other Angular things inside of that. All the other things are Google logics, and in the next lecture, we will see how we are going to implement this database connection with this Google Charts. Right now we will create our second custom directive for a Google chart. I will copy this chart one, the custom directive. I'm not going to write all the codings here. Task of this chart 2 is retrieve this data from the database, right? And for that I'm going to use some Angular factory to retrieve the data from the backend, right? I'll remove this data column and in the top of this script file I'm going to create Angular factory and my Angular factory name will be loads chart and function. I'm going to use HTTP and the queue return function. I'm going to create defined object queue.defer http dot. I'm going to use post function. If you want to use get, you can use, because I'm not going to pass any data to backend here. I will just load some data. Load function, and if it is success, function data, and I'm going to defined object dot resolve data will be data, and if there's an error, function defined object dot resolve. This time data will be false Now I need to return this deferred object with promise. Right, I have written this Angular factory to load the data. That factory name is load chart, and my backend function is load function, and I'm going to call this function using this Angular factory. Right now I'm going to load var result equal load data. I'm going to call that Angular factory here, then result dot then function, and return data I'm getting as output. And after data received, I'm going to do some for each. The reason for each is this the Google is having separate format for their data table. That my data return type is JSON format. That's not supporting for a Google data table. Because of that, I'm going to iterate this the JSON format and add data into this Google table. Value and key. Right, my table name is data dot add row, R will be capital, and value dot name, and my field name value dot count. This value dot name and value dot count is my field names. Name is a field name and count is a field name of the data that return that JSON, return JSON. And I'm going to put these options and chart load inside of this data load function, because actually this load data is work as asynchronous, and after this data return I need to load this chart. Other than that, it will load with the blank data before return this the data. Right, load data. Actually it's not load data, it's load chart. My factory is load chart. Right, I have used load chart here. To use load chart inside of directory, I need to declare in the top. Right, load chart. Okay, and yes, I think we did correctly. This is chart 2. I need to go to this chart 2 HTML and add this attribute type chart chart 2. Right, and I have created a custom directive called chart 2, and I have loaded some data from the Angular factory. Right, and after that I'm giving chart to draw, and this one will be, I just put title. I don't know what type of data it will going to retrieve, and I'll put data and count just to understand. And I'll go to the running file. I'm going to refresh this page. This refresh the my script file and also the chart1 and chart2 custom directives. Now here I am in the chart1 and I'll go to the chart2 and I cannot see anything in the chart2. I'll go to the console and see is there any errors. Yes, you can see a error result dot, then definitely some error in the factory. This is load. This is not error in the factory. I didn't type then correctly. I'll save it and go into the browser and refresh. We'll see. We will wait and there's no any results. We will go to the error console again and see is there any errors. Yes, Angular dot for each. I think yes, all the things are like spelling mistakes. For each is like E is capital. I'll save it. I'll rerun it again. This chart too. Yes, it loads. Spelling mistakes every time happen in the JavaScript because there's no any online compilers. Yes, you can see I have loaded data from the database and we will go to the data table and see the data. This is my data table. It's having name and the count. You can see Jihan 5, John 4, Ram 3, Shivanka 10 and Sylvie 8. We'll go to the chart and see. Yes, Shivanka is having the highest 10 and Sylvie 8, Jihan 5, John 4 and Ram 3. Yes, all the data correctly retrieved and draw this Google chart. I think now you understood about Angular with Google Charts. This is very important when you are going to use the data visualization.